So it's better if you've got a set budget and you say, this is our budget, and you know that that's a reasonable budget depending on your market. But if you're not on the same page with budget, because there's two levels of contractors, there's really three levels, but two levels I'll talk about is investor-friendly contractors and retail contractors, and they're way much more expensive, so we don't use those guys. But when you're working with investor-friendly contractors, the first conversation that you need to have is about the budget. Like, are your numbers going to work? Because if your numbers don't work, guess what? Like, don't even have the next conversation, because we care first and primarily about budget. If we're on the same page with budget and we feel like we like the person, we're going to be able to do some business. Let's talk about quality. What's the quality that we're expecting with their particular trade? So this comes into play a lot with the painters, for example. So we have got a couple of different levels of quality that we're seeking depending on the price point of the home. And then the last thing is the schedule. What's the timeline? What's the timeline for that scope of work? So you need to be really clear. These are things that need to be in writing with your contractors: budget, your quality, and your schedule. And that is, so this is a conversation you have with each contractor, right? Budget, quality, and schedule. But that's the big macro goal of the rehab, to finish on budget, or at least close to that, with acceptable quality, and then meet your timeline with us, 30, 60, 90 days. And those are the goals of the rehab. So rehabbing is all about what? Planning and execution. So you need to make sure you spend a lot of time getting really clear with your contractors about what the plan is, knowing full well that the plan's going to go out the window. Things are going to change. Challenges are going to come up. Problems are going to arise, and that's okay. But you still have to execute. But I'll tell you, if you don't have a plan and you're going into a rehab, like, you're really setting yourself up to fail. So real quickly, I'm going to run through some of the characteristics of a good contractor. And so if you're interviewing contractors and they're not meeting or exceeding some of these things, then they're probably not a good contractor. And I'm talking about a good contractor at this point. So, ideally, if you're really wanting to be a real estate investor that focuses on investing and not managing rehabs, then you want someone who's going to be able to manage the entire job from start to finish. You want someone who's going to be able to handle problems that arise, right? Like, they're going to have really good communication with you. They're going to be on the job site every day, and they're going to be very responsive. It doesn't mean that they're going to, be Superman and be able to fix everything, or that there's not going to be change orders that are going to be incurred, but they're going to be able to walk you through it. They're going to establish agreeable pricing and payment. Well, like, what is their payment structure like? When I was managing construction and doing contracts, you get so annoyed. Like, a painter's like painting the walls and the paint hasn't even dried, and he's calling me wanting to meet me and get a check and things like that, And part of this is you having systems and procedures. We've got our own payroll procedures and things like that I talk a little bit more about at our event. But make sure that you've got some pricing and payment structures. Offer suggestions on the product. I found some of our contractors have some really good insights, right, that we apply to our rehabs. It needs to be someone that you trust, using the Ronald Reagan axiom, trust but verify. But this should be a good relationship. If this is like you're working with some dude like you don't trust at all, like, there's a reason you don't trust them, so probably not do business with that person. I'm not saying like you got to have them over for dinner or anything like that, but this is a working relationship. Just make sure it's gonna work. This should be someone who's going to be able to define and preferably line itemize your entire scope of work. They're going to be able to establish and keep timelines. They're going to be able to handle the headache of what is known as permits and inspections for you, and provide that acceptable quality as well. I do encourage you to require written contracts with your contractors. If you don't, just beware. You could be getting yourself in a lot of problems, and you're going to have some problems anyway, so make sure it's documented and save yourself some headaches. These are five phases of rehab. For time's sake, I'm not going to go into all of them, but if you want to send an email to Kara, she can send you this slide. These are the 5 phases of rehab that they need to go for the most part in this flow, with a few little changes and things depending on the project. You can either take a screenshot within the next 5 seconds if you want the slide, or you can email Kara and Kara can post her email in the comments section. All right, income generation. Let's talk about making money. So when it comes to flipping, so I've got a new program coming out called Flip Fundamentals. One of the fundamentals of flipping houses is having multiple exit strategies, to always have a plan A, which may be flipping, but also have a plan B, have a plan C, have a plan D, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to have other plans just in case, because things happen in the real estate market. So I encourage you to find deals that you can flip, but that same deal you could rent and cash flow, really important point. You could wholesale it and just sell it to another investor if you so chose, or you could owner finance it. And I love the owner finance model. I can't tell you how much I love the owner finance model, but this is AKA known as multiple exit strategies, multiple ways to generate income streams. Like you have income stream options with each particular deal. May come down to a tax issue, right? So we do deals sometimes depending on our tax basis for that particular year, which usually means that we're buying and holding for 1 year, then we're selling, or selling it with the owner financing. So, all right, so no matter what exit strategy you choose, like if you've executed the previous fundamentals properly, going from the mindset, deal flow, estimating repairs, evaluating deals, financing, rehabbing, income generation, guess what you've done? You've set yourself up for success. If you haven't executed all of these well enough, guess what you haven't done? You haven't set yourself up for success, okay? And hopefully you haven't set yourself up for a loss, but it depends on the extent of your knowledge of these fundamentals.